We are now.
Well, welcome back to Q&A and discussion about staying in the flow of source.
That's it.
And so if you don't mind me sharing, you said you were actually in another meeting and then you just felt like it wasn't the right place to be and you came here tonight instead. And that's truly being in flow. And this feels more in alignment with where you are.
Yeah, and even when I got there, I couldn't like find the right entrance, even though she had explained it to me over the phone. And then I called her, and she was telling me where to go, and I still couldn't find it. And I called her a third time, and I finally found it. And then I did all that work just to, to still, I don't know, I guess listen to the first thing I should have, like I should have done. But I don't know. I'm still, like getting tuned in, getting retuned in to listen.
Exactly, but that's what it is. It's getting tuned in and listening.
By the way, that word you just used, should, is one of the things you can throw out of your vocabulary.
I totally agree.
As I've said it before, when we should on ourselves or someone else, it feels about like what it sounds like.
Yeah, but that's it, and that's exactly what being in the flow is. It's hearing that voice, knowing where you need to be or what would be more in alignment with who you are, and then going there.
It was really like just more tugging on my heart to come here.
Cool.
I think, so.
Wonderful. We're glad to have you. Yeah, but that's a perfect example.
Yep, it is.
That's the exact example of what we're talking about. And when you're able to stay in that space and follow what your intuition is telling you in that way, life goes much smoother. It's not as much of a struggle.
And in all honesty, a lot of times we learn to trust that flow and that little gentle voice by not doing it.
Most of the time.
Then we go, oh crap, I
Most of the time.
would have been better off.
That's how that works.
But that's okay. There's no guilt, there's no shame in that. It's just about, okay, I'm learning. Okay, we didn't come out of the womb, hop up on 2 feet and take off trucking down the street. We ooched, we crawled, we fall. We've got bumps and bruises. Some of us were still tripping over our own feet by the time we were in, junior high, so.
Can anybody else think of times where you had that kind of synchronicity, where you just went to the right place at the right time? Can you think of an example that you'd like to share, either one?
Well, when I came to Dallas a couple of years ago, there was the wellness expo. And I'm the kind of person that really don't like to go out. So I just like to stay in my house. And then I got the nudge, go. I was like, nah, I don't really want to. That was Saturday. Sunday is the last day. Go. So I went just for the last 2 hours of it. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I ended up getting free tickets. Somebody just gave me the ticket to go in that was going out. And I ended up meeting the network's panel guy, and he did some tests, and I got his card, but I was seeing somebody else back then. A year later, that the problem happened with the other guy, I remember having that card. And then I decided to reach out to see how his business is on that. And this is how I ended up going to his chiropractic care. And then in that chiropractic care, I met the lady that ended up leading me to Sharon, that led me to this place.
Right.
Which has been the most blessing thing, but it's that little thing in there that told me to get the card, because I was not living in this area. I was living completely like south of Dallas, downtown. So, and his business is north of Dallas.
Right.
So I ended up moving and remember the card, and
But see, that's something that happened a year or more before you got to where you are today. And it all kind of just, when you look back, you go, wow, it just kind of all fell in place. And it's all because you listened and you went, even if it was only the last couple of hours, you went to the wellness expo, which you knew you needed to go to because there was someone there you were going to meet. You just didn't know who. But that's exactly how it works. Yep. And sometimes you know right away that's the reason you went, and sometimes you may never know. And you may have made a difference in somebody else's life too. So
when you explain yours, I put the dots on.
Ah, so you just kind of put it all together.
Yes.
Ah, good.
Well, one of the interesting things as we learn to stay in the flow, especially when we look back and realize we were there, it really, this is not a prompt for next week's talk, but it is, we really begin to wonder, is there free will? Because everything in our life has followed a pattern that takes us from point to point to point. And we would have done that regardless of what we did. It is the flow pattern that was designed for you long before you ever individuated from source. Now, that's not the same as saying you have contracts. That's not the same as saying that you chose your parents or you chose your abuse or any of the other questionable things that we hear a lot of times. But it is the truth. Source made the plan, not your ego.
So yeah, the synchronicities like that, that's definitely being in flow. Hearing something and following through and then going and being there and knowing, well, this is where I needed to be today, is following that flow. And the more you do it in the little things, the more you put the pieces together like you just did.
The more you choke up.
I got it. Got me all choked up.
But yes, the more you trust, the more you learn to trust. The more you open, the more flow you receive. And that's a phenomenal thing to remember. Because being in the flow is not just about the flow of your emotional life or your physical life. It can also be about your monetary life. The more you open to the flow, the more will flow. And the bigger your channel, the more that you touch and the more you receive. Or giving and receiving are always the same thing.
Can you think, did you say you had an example or?
I may not even be able to remember it.
That's okay.
It was a long time.
If you remember, you're welcome to share.
Well,
If not, that's fine.
I was in the car with a couple of people and I heard this voice say, you need to stop here. And it was at the Cosmic Cup. And I was not even from here at the time.
Gotcha.
And so I went in and I went to the counter and I said, I heard a voice say, you need to speak to the owner. So the owner came out and it was Deepak, Kumar's son. I don't know if you know him or heard
Not
of him.
personally.
Well, he's deceased now,
Right.
but so I went up to the counter and I said, I need to speak to the owner and owner of the building. And he said, I'm the owner. And I said, well, you're not the one I'm supposed to meet. He said, did you come here to see my dad? And I said, I guess so. And about that time, he just floated down the stairs like he was floating. He grabbed my hand, and it was just like electricity shot up my hand. And then we became friends, and he called me a student, but I don't know what he ever taught me other than just being around him. I felt elevated.
The energy, right.
Yeah.
Right. So again, you met someone because you listened.
Yeah, that
And
was
you-
pretty,
and you
it
went-
was really a profound, I haven't really heard that strong.
Sure. And you were just driving down the road and heard
Down our line, yeah.
to go into the.
I made them drop me off and leave me. They said, well, we're not coming back, and I said, that's fine.
Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny.
That's fine.
And that's when you know, again, it's not always that profound. Sometimes it's much smaller. But you know that you're in the right place doing the right thing. And like Rusty said, I just remembered another example was we were at dinner with a friend and we had no idea anything about, we just went to a restaurant, right? Just the chain restaurant with a friend. And the waitress kept coming by the table.
I want to back. This was a extremely spiritual friend.
Metaphysical friend, right? And so we're there and we're friendly, we're always present, and we try to smile and be nice to the staff, and we were just very friendly, and of course energetically, we've got the good vibes going, And the waitress kept coming back to the table and asking if we needed anything, and then wanted to chat for a few minutes, and kept coming back to the table, and how you need more water, how you guys doing, just really, like, the restaurant was full, and she probably spent 2/3 of the night chatting with us and just hanging out at the table, not about a topic of any sort, but coming back by. And at one point, the friend that was with us, who was very spiritual, looked at both, after the waitress left, looked at both of us and went, "Why does she keep interrupting us? We're trying to have a conversation. I don't know why she keeps interrupting us."
So we just smiled and said she likes the energy. She's drawn to the light.
She needed the
And
energy.
she kind of goes, because her ego got so involved in, it was interrupting her agenda.
I know.
Wasn't interrupting our agenda, we didn't care. But it was interrupting her agenda that she didn't see why we were there.
To be of service.
Yeah.
Yes, we were being waited on and she was the server, but we were being of service and sharing energy with her, and she was feeling better and better. Each time she came back, she was in a better space and energetically better, and smiled more and wanted to talk more. So we could see that that's why we were sitting there at the restaurant. The meeting with our friend was like almost secondary.
Yeah.
It wasn't for that reason, and that's why we were at that restaurant. So again, a very small thing that many people would miss.
Right.
But the more present you are, the more you notice those little synchronicities, those little events, those little things happening.
As a matter of fact, and I don't know that we've said this before on any of these talks, but this world is sort of upside down and backwards. We think we have to do big things to make a difference. We do not.
No.
As a matter of fact, that which is small is really big, and that which is really big is insignificant. Right? The small things that you do every day will keep you in the flow and will make the biggest difference. The smile you give the cashier at the grocery store, the kind words you may say to someone who's walking past you in an office building, whatever it is, those things invite you to step into the flow. They invite you to remember the person I am meeting is God or Goddess. They are not anything else. They invite you to remember who you are as well. The small things. Don't wait to win the lotto to help the homeless guy on the street. Right? Don't wait to do the big thing. That may never come. But the little ones, every day, every day will make your life fabulous.
I don't know how to follow that. That's good. We're done now.
Okay, any other questions?
Oh, that was it.
I had a private sound bath today, so I'm in a different state.
That's a good step.
It is.
This conversation made me realize that I'm not in the flow with my health because I keep fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
So acceptance, I guess, is what helps it be in the flow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not making it wrong.
What is the situation trying to show you? I'm not going to say teach you. What is the situation with your body trying to show you? And it may simply be, relax, accept what is, and do what I need to do next.
Not always easy, huh?
I'm not saying that's what it is, I'm just saying it might be.
The thing is that each time I ask, from a frustration
Mm-hmm.
point, so I never get an answer.
Right. Right, and it is coming from a space of love. When we can come from a space of love
and through
and
acceptance,
it makes a huge difference as to how we see and hear, and how well we are in the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Great.
So again, sometimes it's very, very small. Matter of fact, a lot of times it is, and sometimes you don't have any idea at the moment why you're doing what you're doing, or going where you're going, or meeting who you're meeting, And later you find out, and you may never know. But if you do it from a space of love, a space of connection, and a space of staying in compassion for yourself and for others, then it makes a huge difference in your life. And it becomes a life of connection with love and source, rather than a life filled with fight and argue and
Strife.
egos and strife. And it just works better. It just works better.
And by the way, the flow will never ask you to be a doormat.
No. No.
It will not. That's your ego.
Right, you can still have healthy boundaries, you still, you know, all of that's still very important. But showing up, you know, just listening, showing up, and doing what feels like where you need to be or what you need to do, whether it's, you got to drop me off here at this coffee shop, I'm supposed to go in, or, you know, oh, I've got to take this job, I have no idea why, or I need to be in this particular meeting, even though it's not the one my brain tells me I need to go to, right? And that's just the way that it works. It's not your left brain making the decisions. It's your higher self connection to source, pointing in the right direction. And staying present is a big part of it. Staying in love and compassion for yourself and others. All right, anything else? Any other comments or questions or thoughts? I hope that what this has done is it has made you also maybe take some inventory and look back at your life and see past relationships and past connections and past experiences and past jobs and how they've brought you to where you are today. Because that's part of it too. And when you recognize those patterns, even the little pattern that you mentioned, right? You got a card from a particular chiropractor that led you here and there and here and there, and now you're sitting in that seat tonight. And those patterns are what we like to look back on, and that's when we see how it all worked for our highest and best.
And by the way, life is a conspiracy. Everyone is out to help you.
That's a nice perspective.
Great conspiracy.
Yeah, right. I love it. All right, well, thank you. Thank you all. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Yay.
See you next time.
Mhm.